Okay, hi Mohammed. There's a bunch of things gone wrong with your model essentially, and that's what's causing a huge amount of problems with the smoothing of the mesh. But then I'm not so sure why you're having trouble applying and exporting textures to the mesh. I'm going to show you how to do a it's not really, it's a quick fix. It's not a proper fix. The proper fix is you remodel your mesh. You've got tons of overlapping non-manifold geometry and all this kind of stuff. Now, as I mentioned, this is intro to CGI. I know you've had some experience with 3ds Max, but as you know, Maya works a little bit differently. And in general, when you model, you've got to be considered. Every single edge loop you add, every single face you extrude, every single vertex you manipulate. Ideally, you should be thinking carefully about, do I really want to do this? Okay. Right, let's load up your scene. Here we are. Scenes, Mars first base. Okay. Now, this is the quick way of getting around it. You've got to do a bunch of things. This is, as I said, ideally you're going to remodel this. But again, this is intro to CGI. I'm not expecting you, and I don't think Paul is expecting you to produce some absolutely amazing model on your first go, like I said in the email. First things you're going to need to do with this is let's hide the ID version and unhide the high-res version. Now, the reason it looks all soft and squidgy is that your normals are all a bit off. Some normals, some edges are hard, some edges are not hard. This is probably because at one point they were hard, but then you kind of move them a little bit and they become soft, but then you move them back again to try and get a hard kind of look, but it didn't work. Anyway, I think what's going to look best with this, if we don't want to try and remodel everything, right, is to go to Mesh, Display, Harden Edge. So the first things that'll do is just simply harden every single edge and give it that kind of sort of hard, man-made kind of look to it. This was already kind of faceted. If you want to make that smooth, well, I wouldn't bother for now, okay? Don't worry for now. So do the same. Let's hide that. Let's do the same for the ID version as well. So with that selected, you just go Mesh, Display, Harden Edge. Done, right? Hide that. Actually, we don't need to hide these. Let's unhide these both now. Right, so Substance does not like FBXs that don't have all correct lovely normals applied to them, and that's one of the problems with your mesh. The normals are all over the place, so Substance is trying to recompute the normals and making a terrible job of it. So instead, we're going to export as an OBJ, not an FBX. So high res first, export selection. Let's go to assets. I'm going to overwrite what I've already done here. So this is the high res version. We'll go to HD version. You just want all of these, by default, all these should be switched on. You're probably set to FBX at the moment. So remember, you are going to have to go to the drop-down menu here and go to OBJ. Right, all this on, default should work. Export selection, well, I've already done it, but yes. And now let's do the same with the ID. Brilliant. No errors came up. Good. Now let's go to Substance and load in that. So new, blah, 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 mesh selected. And we want the HD version, the OBJ. That's what you want, remember. Click that, click OK, wait for a few seconds. There it is. And it's looking identical to Maya now. That's the important thing. Let's bake the textures. Switch off normal. And load in our ID OBJ, because thankfully OBJs can still contain materials and stuff. So ID, make sure you change that to material. By the way, you follow the Mike Hermes tutorials, and he's got a bunch of really good Maya tutorials and Substance tutorials. But unfortunately, his version that you showed me is for Maya 2017, and Arnold updated itself in Maya 2018. So there's a different workflow between Painter and Maya, or there should be, as far as I can remember, between 2017 and Substance and 2018 and Substance, and we're using 2018, so we have to bear that in mind. Okay, so sorry about that. So we've loaded in our ID version OBJ, we've made sure that that's material color, we've switched off normal. Let's just bake. It should do this fine. There we go. It's even done the IDs. We can tell, we can quickly see that's worked fine. Let's just quickly apply any material, a couple of materials at all, just to prove that this is working. Let's put machinery on. Everyone loves machinery. Okay, now let's right click, add mask with color selection, pick color, and we'll put it to that. Let's add another smart material. Let's put something. What should we put? Let's put steel. No, let's put some kind of more interesting steel. Scratch steel. Yeah, that looks better. Put that on top. Again, right mouse button, add mask with color selection, and let's pick that. And let's pick another as well, actually. Let's pick that. I'm not going to do it all because it's your job. You've got to do it. It's your assignment. So you've done that. When you're ready, right mouse button again in here, export textures, or you can go export textures here. Doesn't really matter. Let's do exactly the same thing. Export textures. Now, please tell me, and I hope that you have created a Maya project and you're saving your scenes into the Maya project and any textures you do into source images of that Maya project. I did send an email, was it last week? Yeah, last week I think, or the week just gone, about project settings, because if you start saving your textures outside of your Maya project, when you want to zip them all up and send them off, and potentially it's Paul looking, guy you've probably never met, doing all the grading, the textures won't necessarily load in properly. So I hope you've been saving them into your Maya project. If not, rewatch the video that I published this week just gone and the email. So anyway, go to here. You want to go to your actual Maya project. Documents, Maya, projects. I'm putting it in modeling camera at the moment. And then source images. That's where your textures should go. Select folder. Configuration. Remember that I told you ages ago, I told everyone about how to make your own custom configuration that does not export height or emissive, because we don't use those at the moment. Do that. Go into the right place, export. I think I've already exported actually, so it might say, well, it's done it anyway. So open folder, and yeah, there they all are. Ignore these TX ones. This is the test version I did, and that's what Arnold loaded up. So it's exported them all right. So back into Maya. Let's hide the ID because we're only interested in the high res. Control 1 to, well, I mean, there's not much else there. Control 1, though, to isolate. I always like to do that. Hypergraph. Right mouse button in here. Sorry, not right mouse button. Tab button in here. Standard. You want the middle one. Zoom out a bit. Click these little double arrows. So just to be sure, I mean, it should be okay. So we're only looking at one material, one shader. Let's rename this Vault Room, I think it is, isn't it? Vault Room shader. Just do that just to keep things organized and nice, okay? First things first, wait up to 1. Click that little button here. File. Into here, let's find base color PNG. And we don't need to do anything else for that one. Click back onto this one to bring up this all again. Skip color, sorry, we've already done color. Skip diffuse roughness. Now onto metallic or metalness. Again, same thing. Let's load up the metalness PNG. This time it has to be raw. And also, let's just click this little button here. If ever you're missing these options, alpha is luminance. Back onto here. Skip these. Now we're down to roughness. File. Here's our roughness PNG. Alpha is luminance again. Make sure it's raw. Finally, let's add the bump. So let's type bump. After we type tab, we type bump 2D. Let's connect that up to normal camera. And hold on a second, I think my daughter's calling me, so excuse me a second. I'm just making something, Dharma. Well, okay, change bump to tangent space normals. Bump value, file, Blah, 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 blah. Let's go to normal. Open that up. Already it's set to alpha as luminance, but we do need to change it to raw. Then click either this little button here, or if your attribute editor is up on the side, it will be in your attribute editor. Doesn't really matter. The thing you want now is with this selected, the bump node selected, not the file, not the UV placement texture thing, the bump node selected. Go to Arnold and unclick those flip R and G channels. Now you can either middle mouse button, mouse wheel, drag and drop it, or you can right mouse button, assign material to selection. If you've got, I'm actually pointing at the screen even though you can't see it, if you've got this selected. But the important thing is now, there you are, there's your textures and they're on there. And they're identical to how they are in Substance. I want to do a quick thing just to show you again about the lighting, right? Just to check the lighting. You want to go to Arnold, make sure you're in the Arnold tab. Sun and create physical sky. Now go to Arnold, render view. Click this little play button. There we go. Let's just, the one thing though, we'll just need to change the azimuth, I think. Or is it the elevation? Let's make it the elevation to something higher. Oh, no, that's actually lower. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. And I've also got 3D manipulation ticked on here, which is really useful. Because if you have that ticked on, you can hold Alt and you can kind of move around your object like you would do in the viewport, but you're doing it in the renderer. So it's really quick and easy to check your model. Okay, so there you go. Your textures are applied. It's never going to look 100% identical to Substance because Substance is using its own HDR map to do this. And Maya is using the physical sun and sky. But your textures are properly applied. Now, as I mentioned, your model has got a lot of errors on it. And that was an accumulation of probably mistakes that you made as you were modeling it and combining it and extruding faces and all that kind of thing. Don't worry too much about it. Next semester, I'm going to get all of you lot to really be more considered in how you model things. We're going to do some exercises, which is going to require you to think before you extrude, think before you insert edge loop, etc., etc. But that's how, on your model, so I loaded up your scene, so you should be able to do exactly the same thing, how you can get your textures and everything onto this. And remember, if you want to do a render, you can do, let me see actually, you can file, save image. So you can save the image of that as well and use that as part of your assignment if you want to attach some images to your assignment. Okay, Mohammed, I hope that helps. There's a limited amount more that I can do within the time now. Hopefully that is enough. So remember the important things, export as an OBJ, harden edges. Either that or you're going to have to go back to scratch and remodel everything. And I'm sure you don't want to do that, and I would advise against doing that at the moment. Okay then, I hope that helps again. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.